Aquarius, I have been trying to do this for some time. I don't know what's going on, but there's a lot going on in the heart space with everybody. If you're feeling overwhelmed, I am sorry, and I hope this is going to help you ground in some type of way. All information to work with me is below, one-on-one, and all information for the Patreon link, which will have the second part / the extended, which is just a deeper insight into what the cards have to say this month for Scorpio season. Some of you might be bored. Forgive me. I don't tend to get bored, but there's been this feeling of staying stuck in a certain place, yet at the same time it's making you feel bored. So for some of you, it's time to either leave a situation, try something new, read a book, do something that will challenge your intellect, that will remind you that there is so much to still learn, but also let yourself process. Sometimes learning is also meditating. Sometimes learning is trying a new skill. So this month wants to take you deeper into what maybe you've already found out about yourself, what you know about how you handle situations, how you view things. Saturn in Aquarius going direct. Venus and the Sun moving into Scorpio. We have that. And still, there's this, how do you respond to situations? How do you handle situations? What do you need to really take from what's happening in your life? There's something possibly that you've dedicated a lot of time to. Sorry, I'm a very fidgety person, so just know that I move a lot sometimes, depending on the circumstance. So here we have this turning not only a great idea or a great thought, but what you need in order to make something more real, more tangible for yourself, or for the parts of you that feel like you need to be somewhat disciplinary to yourself, perhaps. How you've been maybe disciplined in the past. There we go. That's it. How you've viewed discipline in the past, how it can bring out this very serious side of yourself. However, there's this game being played as well. And this month makes us sometimes view the game a little differently. It takes us down a route a little bit deeper than we would usually go, perhaps. So there's this part of you that is getting to know, sorry, almost there, okay. That is getting to know the side of yourself even deeper, of how you and why you show up the way you do, and why does it feel so deep? Well, all aspects right now are making us really think about things, and you're a sign that already starts to intellectualize. And I advise you, if there's any sense of overwhelm, you don't have to listen to me, but you might want to be in your physical body. Maybe you find, a discipline to something with your body, to something that is going to bring your awareness home and center, and maybe even wonder like what that means to you and what that looks like for you, given certain circumstances that can happen in your life, whether they are hypothetical or not, or whether you've experienced certain things in your life or you just get these feelings. I would trust that right now. Anything that's coming sharply into your intuition right now, maybe something you want to process alone. You know, a few times a year you really do your thing, and that's maybe what you want to do. You know how weird people can act this month, and not in a way that is not, I'm not saying I'm not weird, that's not what I'm saying. it's that weird, it's like that strange, airy weirdness, that feeling that something's going on here. And if you don't want to feel like you're being just like pulled into other people's stuff this month, even, you might want to reconsider jumping to saying yes to plans right away before you actually think about it. You know, before you say commit or do something that you may think you want to do, but then when it comes to the day, you're just not feeling it, because you know the intensity of the feelings you've been having about this year, about death, about how very sharply and keenly people are revealing themselves, and how your own self is almost up to the test as well. And so what you could be being asked of yourself is where you're willing to commit deeper to what's real in your life and what you need and what's important and what is going to be helpful about, you know, thinking about all of this, processing all of this, realizing why it's important for you to do so. And you may come to the conclusion, or you may come to, or someone even brings you this conclusion, or you find it through different aspects in which we've already talked about, that you find like your interests and stuff like that. And it almost feels like you can really give into this process, that a part of you that could feel overwhelmed or in fear, you're reminded that each day you can decide how you want to spend it in the times that you are conscious of spending it. And I know that can sound really cheesy at times, but ultimately you know and can become very clear about what you want, or where you want to go, or the plan that you have, right? Sorry again for all of this. I'm just trying out different lenses. Or not different lenses, different angles. Okay. And you know how invested we can become in ourselves, in our lives, in other people's lives, in things that are going on. And you know that there is a time where you will have to really acknowledge these things in a way where you thought you were sure about something, it turns out you can't be too sure about it. You know what I mean? And I know that's a really broad thing to just bring up to you. However, just take it in doses. Come back to the body. Remember that you are and you have your senses and your sense of control, and trusting your own inner wisdom, your own inner conversation and voice, that when you need to break a commitment, or when you feel a certain way, and recommit to the part of you that is very aware that your intuition is possibly heightened at this time, that part of having Saturn in your sign, I feel like gives you this extra wherewithal of like what direction culture wants to take, because it is very masculine driven. There's a lot of imbalances in it, but there's you have this really keen sense of awareness right now, and you may find yourself wanting to be alone and processing, and wanting to only have like real sense and conversations, or moments with people who can understand your deepened sense of awareness right now, who can see where you find your responsibility in it, and for a fulfilled life, where you can choose to and these people also, these certain people can choose to bounce off. Like, you can have both, you know. You can be just as serious as you are thoughtful, and have enjoyment where you can, where it doesn't have to be something you fight for. And I know that you guys know that more than anyone, but it's kind of your time to maybe experience it a little bit, because you're very aware of how you're feeling. How many sirens went by just recording this one, or trying to record one out of, I tried this like I think 5 times. Every time there was some kind of movement going on upstairs, like movers coming in and out, which you may feel like someone has been moving in and out of your field or your house or your place, and you could have been going through that personally, very literally. But you've always heard these sirens in the background, and you didn't realize how many there were. So there's some of you really also noticing certain red flags in your life, certain things you won't put up with anymore. Can cause you to make some real serious decisions about your future and what you're willing to fight for, and what you're not willing to fight for anymore. And let me also say that just because you don't want to fight for something doesn't mean you don't want it. You just realize that there's this part of us that has been told and maybe has believed that if something's important to you, you fight for it. And sometimes it's not true. If you're always fighting with yourself or against yourself, even though you think you're fighting for yourself, is that helpful? Probably not. If you know there are people unwilling to listen, would you continue to speak to them? Right? It's not like I'm forcing what I'm saying down anyone's throat. They're finding this, they're clicking on it, and they're deciding to listen. You're deciding to listen to me. You don't have to take my opinions and the way I see these things like to the heart. But if it evokes an emotion in you, then there's something real there, right? Whether the feeling is happiness or sadness or breakthrough or whatever it is, or excites you, there's something that draws you to whatever you're drawn towards. Why am I saying all this? Well, it all comes from the choices that we make. And you can really, not just the choices that we make, but also the way and what we were brought into as well. It's a very clear factor. It doesn't mean that you won't meet different people along the way. It doesn't mean you won't meet people who are different from you. Not just different looking, but different thinking, different feeling. And you're beginning to realize that whatever you're compromising now perhaps isn't worth it in the long run. That you actually need more time to yourself, more time to even talk through. You might feel like you want to talk more than you normally do, and it's very helpful to you. Will people always want to listen? Who knows? You can still talk to yourself. It's actually proven to be a great thing for you. You can look it up if you want to. And even more so, whatever it is that these conversations give you or bring to you in this time, these feelings, these moments where it can become very difficult to run and hide from, where it's like, whether it's a positive or negative thing, it's looking you straight in the face and it's asking you to look at you straight in the face. And these series of eclipses will bring that to you, show you maybe where you feel unfulfilled in your life. And I know that can feel like such a big thing in the moment of hearing it, in a time when you need to hear it. So if it is this time, I understand. There is always more to fill, but in this moment there is a way to be grateful for what you have, if you can get yourself there. even in the midst of Saturn reigning kind of over you. Sorry this is so slow. I don't mean for it to be. It's just this in and out vibe that I'm getting. Hopefully you'll appreciate it. I think that's just the way it needed to be. The lighting just needed to be a little bit different, a little clearer for me. A little more room, a little more space to move and feel not so confined where I was sitting. So, yeah. Big things changing. I can feel it for you. Again, all information to work with me is below to take a look at the extended / part 2 where we get deeper into this reading, even more so than we already have. And the placements will be in a link below for Patreon. It also comes out on YouTube at the end of the month, but all is appreciated. I'll see you next month.